you don't have a discipline problem. Right now, you're doing 80% of the work. You're hitting the gym, you're eating healthy, you're taking bits and pieces from Instagram, from YouTube, from AI, and you're trying to put the pieces all together, but you're still spinning your wheels. The months are going by, the years are going by. And until you actually take control of that last 20%, you're going to be repeating the same cycle for the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years. Tomas had been trying to get into shape properly, proper conditioning for 10 years. And within a 6-month period, he went from out of shape, 30% body fat, low in confidence, low in energy, routine all over the place. That was having an effect on his career, on his family life. He's a young father. So he had a lot going on in life, but everything was scattered. His personal standards were so low that has a knock-on effect in every other area. And until you actually raise your personal standards, your life isn't going to raise with that. You can't expect the world around you, the circumstances around you, to actually raise up until you raise up yourself. And that's exactly what we did. And where it started for Tomas was, he reached out to me Christmas time. I remember after the Christmas, he reached out. He was like, I've been following you for a long time. I've been trying to get into shape for 10 years. I'm just ready to go. I'm just sick of where I'm currently at right now. Something has to change. And that's exactly what we did. From that first initial point of contact, the first thing that we had to do, we had to get very, very clear as to what the outcome was going to be for him. What was the vision that he wanted? Who was the man that he wanted to become? Because until you don't have that, you can just spend time spinning your wheels. You don't actually have a tangible goal that you're aiming towards. And if you don't have a tangible goal towards you're aiming towards, you don't know whether you're getting closer to it. So then what happens? You become okay with the mediocre results that you have in all areas of your life, because you're not striving for any more. You're just going with the flow. And when you go with the flow, you end up drifting, and you can end up anywhere. But once you get crystal clear, you get that North Star goal as to what you want to achieve with your body, with your personal life, with your professional life. You have a target. You put it into the sat-nav, and then you can start moving your way up along. But without that, mediocrity, staying average, it just becomes your norm. You get comfortable there, and nothing grows in the comfort zone. So the first thing we had to do is we had to raise these standards, get crystal clear as that North Star goal, and raise the standards. Because we can all set goals, but until you raise the floor, the ceiling can be set nice and high. We can set those goals, but until you raise that floor for what you accept for yourself on your worst days, nothing will change. Because you've probably set goals. You've probably said, I want to get in shape. But until you raise the floor, raise the personal standards, raise what you actually tolerate for yourself, you won't achieve the goals. So that was the key. He was a career-driven individual. He was a young father. He was a partner. He had set some personal goals as well, which I won't dive into. But we got very, very crystal clear as to what was the outcome that Tomas wanted. And to say we smashed it, by the way, we smashed it. Once the vision was created, we then had to design the man. Who did he need to become? Who did he need to step into? Who was the identity of the man who had everything he desired? You have to get crystal clear on that version of you. Once you get crystal clear as to who he is, you then step into that version of you right now in the present moment. You operate from that identity. It's identity first, behavior second. Because if you're trying to achieve a goal from an old identity, the version of you that accepts that mediocrity, accepts the average standards that you hold to yourself for, you might push really hard for a couple of weeks, you might make some progress, but before you know it, you're going to self-sabotage. You're going to be back to square one. So you get clear on the vision and then clear on the man. And you step into that identity. Who is that version of you? And you step into that right now. We then first went into the priming phase. And this is the key. Like, most people skip this. You want to get into shape, the first thing that you do is you jump straight into a dieting phase. I need to get lean. I need to get the abs. But what happens? You set an unsustainable approach, an approach that doesn't actually fit into your lifestyle. Try a crazy carnivore approach, a low carb diet, a high intensity interval training, high rocks to try help you shred body fat. But what happens? You always end up crashing and burning within a couple of weeks. And within this priming phase, you'll see here, it took us 5 weeks. In this phase, we laid a foundation. The first thing that we need to do is we need to remove the vices. What are the habits? Debt habits, I like to call them. We have growth habits and debt habits. What are the habits that are actually killing you and taking you away from that version? Get crystal clear as to what they are, and you have to remove them out of your day-to-day life. Doom scrolling, staying up too late, binge eating, not getting enough steps in, missing your macros, pornography, lust, smoking, alcohol. What are the things that need to be taken out? That's the first step. You need to remove all the bullshit, remove all the debt habits, because you can install all the growth habits as much as you want, but if your debt habits are there and they're eating into you each and every day, you won't get very far. So you remove the debt habits and then you install the growth habits. So once all the vices are removed, what needs to happen? When you break it down and once you have that crystal clear clarity, the path becomes very, very straight. You realize, okay, the first thing we need to do is remove all the bullshit. The second thing we need to do is we need to focus on what's the highest leverage tasks to actually achieve the results that we want. Your diet, your macros needs to be on point, but it needs to be designed in a way that's specific to you. So you can stay mentally sharp on a daily basis, so you have consistent, predictable energy throughout the day, that you can shred the body fat, build the muscle. It needs to be designed around your day. So that's the first step. Then the training. How many days a week can we commit to? If you can only do 4, that's perfect. If you can only do 3, that's perfect. If you can do 5, even better. But you have to get very, very clear as to what's realistic, what can work around your relationships, your children. Whether you have a business or you're working a 9-to-5 job, you need to get very clear as to the structure that's actually going to suit you. And that's what you do here in this priming phase. You lay the foundations. You lay the routine. You remove the bad, you install the good, and you fine-tune it, you refine it. We need to lay the foundation. If you're trying to build a house on a cracked foundation, on sand, you might make a couple of layers up, but what's going to happen? The house is going to fall and crumble. It's the same with your body. You need to start thinking long-term. What's going to actually work long-term? We need to lay the foundation for 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 years down the line. Because once you do this once, it's done. You don't have to redo it. So that's the key. And without this, I see it happen so often. You're just going to end up going straight into the aggressive phase. You might make some progress, but you're going to rebound. So do not overlook the priming phase. We then go into the peak phase. This is where we raise your personal standards. This is the key. This is where you get to that 10% body fat. Because as I mentioned earlier, you can do the identity work internally. You can say, I am the man who goes to the gym. I am the man who is in shape. I am X, okay? But you need to then prove to yourself and prove that identity, that that's who you are. And you need to do hard things. You need to do something that you've never done before. Because once you do that, your brain then realizes, okay, well, I've just put my body into a position that I've never been before, getting to 10% body fat, into peak shape. Your brain then realizes, if I can do that with my body, I can do that with my business. I can do that with my career. I can do that with any goal I set for myself. I just prove to myself that I can tell myself that I'm someone new, stepping into the man, and then I just prove myself. Your body is literally the physical proof of the new identity, the new man that you're becoming. That's where you get to that 10% body fat. Again, you push yourself. It's not always going to be pretty, but you have a start date, you have an end date. You get to that end date, and then you've achieved the results you want. But this is where most people fuck up. They get to that phase. They feel like the man. Great. Then what happens? A couple of weeks go by, they get complacent, the debt habits creep back in, the good habits that they had fall off, the diet goes out the window, and then before you know it, they're back to square one. Up around here. This is where the reverse kicks in. This reverse phase, this is where we literally install that new identity and we maintain it. There's no rebound and there's no regression. You slowly bring the food back up. Once you've achieved the physique that you want, you slowly bring the food back up to a position where it's easy to maintain. Tomas is an example. He went from 1,900 calories towards the back end of his diet up to 2,900 calories within the space of 4 weeks. Fuller, bigger, leaner, energy was better. He could easily manage it then. So easy for him to manage once he'd done that reverse phase. But if you do not do that reverse phase, you're going to get into shape and you're going to fall out of shape. Trust me, I've done it for years and years and years. And until I followed these exact 3 steps up until now, you're just repeating the cycle. And what's going to happen? You're going to get into shape. You're going to feel amazing. Energy is going to be high. Confidence is going to be high. But then if you don't do that reverse phase, you're going to fall straight back out of shape. And then what's going to happen? Another 6 months is going to go by and you're going to be like, fuck. You're going to look in the mirror. You're not going to like what you see anymore. You're going to be like, I need to get back into shape. I need to push myself now. You need to do it all over again. And I know you felt that where you're like, I've been in good shape. Fuck it, I fucked it all up. I need to do it all over again. That's the worst place you can be, because it's not just the physique that you're missing out on here, which we'll touch on here, but you have to take into consideration, if you're in a position where you don't like what you see in the mirror, your confidence is going to be low. You're not going to be as mentally sharp as when you're in peak shape. So then what happens? Yes, the visuals is one thing, but internally you don't really like the man that you see in the mirror. And that is going to take away from so many other areas of your life. You're not going to be in a position where you can upskill, where you can be the best father, be the best partner in your relationships, because you're going to be like, I have so much work to do. I need to get back into shape. You're going to feel sluggish. You're going to feel that brain fog on a daily basis. You're not going to have the ideas. You're not going to have the clarity as you want. And that's the key. We need to have that clarity. We need to build the physical proof. We then need to maintain that year round. It's not for a couple of weeks, a year that we feel amazing, that we feel high energy, that we feel confident. It's for fucking life. We need to feel that. And if you do not do this reverse phase, you're going to be caught in this cycle of in and out of shape. So until you do that, that is the number one thing that you need to do. So do not fool yourself by saying, I'm going to go really aggressive in a dieting phase and not do this, because I promise you, you'll just be back to square one and it's going to be soul destroying. I've been there many times. We then went into the total control phase. And this is where things change a bit. Okay, so you've done the work now. You're in peak physical shape. You've become the man that you set out from the start. You've got to that position. We then go into a performance phase. For Tomas, as an example, he sent me a couple of weeks back ago, actually. He shifted into the performance phase and then he'd done a half marathon. So you can see here, he's fucking jacked running a half marathon. So he went into performance phase. So essentially what we've done is, once you build the body, you can maintain that easily year round for life. All the benefits that come for that, you maintain that year round, okay? Into this performance phase then, we actually pulled back, because his missus wanted more time to go to the gym now. So he pulled his training back from 4, he pulled it back to 3 times per week, okay? To spend more time with his young child, and to allow for his missus to then actually go and train and do her thing, okay? So that's easily maintainable now. But you can then focus in this position, in the total control phase. You're in shape, you're mentally sharp, your routine's dialed in, all the growth habits are installed, all the debt habits. And by the way, when you're in this phase, you're just compounding growth in all areas. As I said, your personal goals, your career goals, you're still compounding growth, because it's not just about installing the habits for fat loss. That's not what it's about. It's about installing the habits that is bringing you closer towards those goals, to the financial freedom, to the location freedom, to having autonomy over your days, whether you're upskilling within your career, you have your business and you're scaling it to new levels. These are all the habits that get installed as you're becoming the man. And all areas of your life, professionally, personally, mentally, they're all compounding growth. And that's where we want to be. And when you're in this position, you have total control over your mind, your body, and your habits. And once you have total control of your mind and your body and your habits, and how you show up each and every day, and you're working towards the vision that you've created, success becomes inevitable in every single area of your life. So it goes so much further beyond what you see in the mirror. It becomes the man you see in the mirror. Externally, internally, you love who the fuck you are. You have that true confidence, that true conviction that what you say you're going to do gets done, because you've built the physical proof with your body. The body is like, it's a byproduct at the end of the day. Your body is simply a byproduct of the man that your vision demands. The more dialed in that you are with your training, with your nutrition, with your sleep, with your recovery, that makes you a better individual, whether you're an entrepreneur, within your business, your family life. It turns you, the individual, into a better man. I know for a fact, personally, if I slip up on my diet, if I'm not as on point with my diet, that shows up in other areas. How you do one thing is how you do everything. And it's how you do the small things daily that compound to achieve the great results that you want, to build that vision. But most guys are sitting around, they're waiting. They're, within their business, they're just kind of half-arsing it. They're like doing a little bit of outreach, doing a little bit of this, doing a little bit of that, waiting for something to fucking click, but it's not going to click. You have to operate from the man in the end state, the guy who already has it, who has the business, the relationships, the career, the body. You need to step into that version of you right now. Because if that's just a dream, a hope, and a wish, it's never going to come. And this is exactly what you need to do. So as I said, the prime, the peak, the reverse, the total control. Prime the body, lay the foundations for long-term success. Remove the vices, the debt habits, install the growth habits. Peak, build the physical fucking proof that you are the man that you know you're capable of becoming. That is literally, the body is the number one thing that you can build to prove to yourself, to build the confidence within yourself. Boom. And then we in reverse. The reverse phase is where we install the systems that there's no rebound, there's no regression. That's identity level transformation, that you're fully installing that new identity of the version of you. And then the total control phase, where you can set up your calendar, specifically where you don't have to be pushing yourself so hard with your training. You can sit at a maintenance. You can go into a slight surplus where you're building lean muscle tissue. You have a lot more energy. You can set up your calendar so you're optimizing for personal growth, for spending more time with your family, whatever it might be. You have more control back over your days. You have more energy, you have more clarity, you're mentally sharper because you've been through the process and you're not going back out. You're not getting into shape and out of shape. You're getting into shape, you're holding the benefits, you're feeling like the man year round, and then you compound growth in all the other areas. That's where we're at. That's how you go from 30% body fat to 10% body fat. In under 6 months, he'd done this. Within 6 months, he'd run a half marathon. He'd messaged me, he said his son was going around calling him Superman now. Amazing. He's shown up better within his relationships. He can manage stress more within his within his career. And he sent me a picture. He ticked off a personal goal that he had as well. I'll keep that private. But all areas compound. I promise you. Stop viewing this as just getting into shape so you can look good for a picture, for a holiday, for whatever it might be. This is the highest leverage task that you can do as an individual for your whole entire life. Because your life is going to be an extension of you. Your business will be an extension of you. Your relationships, how you feel about yourself. It comes down to how you show up each and every day. It's not about setting these crazy big goals and wishing and hoping. It's about getting clear on the vision, acting from the end state, and showing up each and every single fucking day as that man. Once you do that, your life changes like that. So if you need help with this, there's a link below. Click it. It'll bring you through my landing page. Or else I'll even leave a WhatsApp link. You can message me directly. But if not, guys, the number one thing I want you to take away from this video is you need to become a man of your word each and every day. Show up and do the things you know you should be doing. Get crystal clear on the vision. Act from the end state. And just show up each and every single day, no matter what. Raise your own personal standards and your whole life will improve. Peace and love.